Welcome to Wilderness. I'm Dan.
I'm Kristin.
And I'm Bill.
And we're getting ready for a canoe trip. Welcome to Trailshack.
This is where we're getting ready for our trips.
We're going to take a look at our gear and our food for our canoe trip.
The Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness, which is where we're going on our trip, is a protected wilderness area. There's a whole bunch of rules and regulations that we're going to have to follow to make sure that we're doing things right. So one of those is we're not allowed to bring in any motors or machines. There's no cars in the Boundary Waters. There's no roads. We travel by canoe and we walk over the portages, which are these little land chunks in between the different lakes. We also need a permit that shows where we're entering, and that allows the Forest Service to manage the number of people that are going into the Boundary Waters. Before you head into the woods for a canoe trip, you want to make sure to take a survey of what you've brought. Everything that you have with you, you'll either have to carry on your back over the portages or in your canoe when you're paddling. So you don't want to bring a whole bunch of extra stuff. Just your bare essential equipment, your personal gear, a map, a permit, those sorts of things. You don't need a big floaty or a chair or a wheel. That stuff isn't necessary. Also, when you're traveling in the Boundary Waters, you want to remember leave no trace. There's a whole set of leave no trace guidelines and rules, but the essentials boil down to those 3 words. You want to make sure that when you're traveling through a wilderness area that you aren't leaving anything but footprints, that you aren't taking anything but memories, and that you're leaving every spot that you travel as clean or cleaner than when you found it.
When we go on our canoe trip, we need to know how to navigate. We need to know where we are and where we're going. To do that, we need 2 tools. We need a map and a compass. To be able to take a bearing, we first need to know a little bit about our compass. The first thing I want to show you is our directional needle right here. The red side of it is always going to point north, no matter which way you turn the compass. There are also a few lines painted underneath it to match up with the needle when you're taking bearings. This dial turns, as you can see, and it has a number of degrees starting at north at 0 and going all the way to 360 back to north. The compass also has a main directional line here that you can use to figure out which way you want to go with the compass. The first thing that we need to do, we want to line the north up with the main line of the compass, position the compass on the map in the north-south direction, and then move the entire map so that the red needle matches up with the red lines inside the compass. Now our map is oriented in the direction that we want it. We can take our compass bearing. Let's say that we are camped on Miles Island campsite and we want to go to the Alpine Portage. To take a bearing, we lay the compass on the map. We put the back edge right where we are on the campsite. We take the front edge and point it towards the portage. Then we take the dial on the compass and turn it so that the red arrow matches up with the red lines on the compass, and then read the number that's on the main line of the compass. So we're at 250. That's our compass bearing.
We want to make sure that the foods that we bring don't need to be refrigerated, that they pack well, that we can rehydrate them by adding water once we get on trail, and that they are going to fuel our bodies for our canoe trip. There are a lot of different foods that can be dehydrated. Some are kind of surprising, like cheese, cake, potatoes, and biscuits. And it's hard to tell the difference sometimes with what each dehydrated food is, so we use color-coded stickers to make sure that once we get out on trail, we know what they are. We pack each different meal into its own food bag so that we can just grab a food bag and make our meal when we get out on trail. This is a whole dinner for 9 people, so when we go on our canoe trip, we're not going to pack this much food because we want to prevent food waste. Anything that we bring into the Boundary Waters, we need to either eat or it needs to come back out with us. And we don't want to be carrying leftover food with us out of the laundry waters, so we only want to pack what we need. So we make food in our kitchen out of bulk items, like this rice with spices. We have a big container of rice and our spices, and we're going to make just enough for what we need in a plastic bag that we're going to take with us, and then we're going to eat all our food and bring just the plastic bag out as garbage.
Hi everyone, my name is Katie. I've been the Trailshack coordinator at Wilderness for the last couple of summers, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make Trailshack's favorite energy balls. The first ingredient is regular oats, chocolate chips, I have sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds, craisins, peanut butter or sun butter, corn syrup or honey, canola oil, and vanilla. Add anything else you might want to add, and then mix everything in a large bowl until it's well incorporated. The next step is to form the mixture into balls. They can be as big or small as you want. Enjoy!
Let's take a look at our equipment pack. Here's the pack with a plastic liner that keeps everything dry. Here's our water bladders. Here's our water filter. Here's some duct tape. Here are our stoves. Here's our fuel. Here's our rain fly ropes and our rain fly. Here's our cook kit and our grill. Here's our bare ropes. And here's our tents. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. Let's put it back together. Woo! This one's heavy, and it's got a lot of pretty important stuff. So you always want to use 2 people to make sure you carry it safely.
Looks like Maggie's joining us.
This is our tent. There's a couple things you might want to be thinking about before you set up a tent to camp in. First and foremost, you want to make sure that you're safe when you're sleeping. So when I come to a tent pad, I like to look up and make sure there aren't any big dead branches that might come down on me when I'm sleeping. Then I like to look at the tent pad itself. This is the area where you're going to set up the tent. Is it full of rocks and roots and things that would be really uncomfortable? Or is it nice and flat and smooth? Then I set up my tent. There's a couple things that I'm thinking about when I make sure that it's all done. I want to make sure that the tent fly is stretched as tightly as possible so that it can keep me dry in case I get a little rain at night. I like to take off my shoes outside the tent to make sure that I'm not tracking in any dirt. And I also like to go in and out of the tent as quickly as possible because sometimes there might be some bugs out. I don't want to bring those in with me.
This is water that came straight out of the lake, and we need to use one of 3 different options to clean it. The first one is simply boiling it over the campfire or over our stove, and once it's boiled, it's then safe for people to drink. Another option is to use a chemical water purification treatment, such as this one that we like to use called aquamira. Follow the instructions and add it to your water, and then it becomes safe to drink. And the last option is to use a gravity bag filter, where you add the dirty lake water to the gray bag. It filters all the way down and comes out of the blue one clean and safe to drink. One of the things you're going to do when you get to your campsite is collect a lot of firewood. It's important to collect certain types of firewood because we want to keep the environment as pristine as possible. So we never collect wood that is still living on trees. We always collect firewood that is dead and down. It's dry because firewood that's wet isn't going to burn well, and it's smaller than our wrist. If you're going to cook over your fire, you're going to need a lot of firewood to keep the fire going and nice and hot, so it's hot enough to boil water and cook over. But there's also some reasons why you might choose to use your stove instead of your campfire. Today we're actually going to cook on our stoves because there's a fire advisory.
Birch bark is a great fire starter.
Oh, here's some.
No, Dan, not from live trees. Gotta make sure. Oh, here's some. Dead and down.
Oh.
Nice job, Bill. That's a great load of firewood.
Thanks.
Dan, I think you should go back and try to get a little more.
Okay. As with campfires, stoves obviously have flame and are dangerous, so you want to be very careful that the area where you're cooking with your stove is clear of anything that could start on fire and is protected from wind. Stove cooking is sometimes a little quicker to get started versus having to collect a whole bunch of wood and get a fire going on a campfire. But the cooking part itself oftentimes takes a little bit longer. Today we're making a classic trail dinner, mac and cheese and biscuits. Yay! It's time to get to work. Help!
Remember the bowline knot?
I don't know.
This is how to tie a bowline knot. This is your main line. It wraps around whatever you're tying to, and this is your tail line. You want to take your main line in your left hand and make a 6 by taking your right hand over top of your left hand. You then want to take your tail, go up through the 6 that you just made, go around the main line, and then go back down through the 6th loop. Then you're going to take these 2 ropes and this top rope and pull them together tight. That's a bowline.